barbecue chip, kitty? Come on. You can let. There you go.
It works. It seemed like they'd be a total joke and not worth the time.
Does that make sense? Basically, we're putting in a cage. Turned out beautiful. All right, so we need a full skid plate for our Audi. If you ever do anything like this, I highly recommend that you build this car upside down. It's pretty handy. Here we just want to pretty this up so that the names stand out nice. I'd be interested to know what you guys think will wreck first. All right, here we've got our Grand Prix GTP side skirt that is custom fit to our Audi, but somebody was a dumbass and banged up the rockers with the forklift a couple times and actually hit the door too. We're gonna knock that dent out. Anyway, we're gonna attach this to our car so that it doesn't fall off and will never come off again. I was thinking about making it so they do come off, but we're past, so we could go snow drifting and that. I think we're past that. We'll do some snow drifting. We just got to make them strong enough that they'll never break. So we could use things like rivets and whatever else, but it's not going to work in this situation. So what I did was a piece of aluminum on the front and on the back, and that's up into the wheel well with a bunch of rivets. It's not bad solid wise already. We could probably drive with that on, but we're going to fiberglass this in and make it so it looks like it's part of the car and it was always there to begin with. So we'll start by just cleaning the rockers off a little bit, and then basically we could bolt it together, I guess, but we're going to use duct tape. If you don't find you handsome, they'll at least find you handy. Alright, so we're going to lay some fiberglass over top. Yogurt containers make great little cups to mix stuff in, and it's good for you too, so eat lots of yogurt, save all the containers. It's better than crack. Resin, hardener, I got a couple strips ready. We're just going to cheap paintbrush to brush on the resin on it. Then I don't saturate the cloth, I just lay it in the spread out stuff and then put another layer on. A drill to mix the resin with a cheapy little piece of electric fencing or welding rod bent up to mix it. And that's about it. For 1 ounce of resin, you use about 10 drops, or for a quarter can of this, you use a quarter of this. And wear a mask because it's pretty fumey, gross stuff. So. So let that dry so I can cut off the extra. Right now we're attaching it to the top there. The next one will be 1.5 inches wider, and then we'll catch it in the lip there. Then we'll put another piece of tape from here over, and then we'll do 2 more layers, and then that'll be it. So every time we grab more of the rocker and more of the skirt, then we have 4 different pieces of fiberglass holding it in different spots. So plenty strong. All right, this is what it looks like with the one coat on there. This profile is not bad because there's lip here, but we're gonna smooth this out. We're just putting a piece of duct tape across that, mainly so that the names will go on nicer. Also, the fiberglass is sticking to this inside lip here. Now we can catch this little lip here. It's already pretty solid, but we're gonna make it even more solid. Here we go. All right, so this is the last coat of fiberglass. Just cut off a couple of pull the loose strings out. I'll hit it with the buffer, just take the high spots off, and then we'll run a little bit of filler over just to smooth the last of it out, and then get ready to splash some paint on it. So. All right, we're just gonna put a little skim coat of BONDO on it just to smooth it nice out. You've seen me use pads of paper before. You can just peel one off. I'm out. So I'm just using my kids' artwork, and you might think that's really cruel of you, but there's just so much, and I did that. I colored that in, and I got told to stop, and she did this. The effort really is not there. It's not there. So we're gonna cover it up in BONDO. Here we go. My BONDO. Look, Daddy. What do you think? Oh, it's a heart, Daddy. No, it's a kidney bean. Can you hang it up, Daddy? Oh, Daddy, you're funny. Granted, she is like 3, but come on. There's just so much art. Okay, so this is just one skim coat of filler on there. We'll put one more on. We'll knock a couple of these high spots down, and then put one more coat on it, and then just sand it one more time, splash some paint on it, and out the door it goes. Normally I wouldn't spend even this much time on it, but this is where everybody's names are gonna go. So to get your name on this part of the car, buy some Quattro stuff off our swag, or there's a bunch of other ways to get on too yet. So we just wanna pretty this up so that the names stand out nice. And it does actually fit the car real nice. Now you can see the contour of this kind of curls out, and then there's a line that kind of goes up, and then there's the rocker that's kind of straight, except for the ends, it kind of flares out. I'm really happy how that's turning out. So put one more coat on it. If you need any tips or tricks on sanding or how to do this, check out our Fleetmaster build. We got an entire series on blocking and that. Lots of info there, but for now we're just gonna keep sanding. Make it look pretty, splash some paint on it tonight, and start putting some names on it. Is anybody locally really good at calligraphy, really good at names? If you are, hit us up at the Boss Garage. My penmanship is terrible. Everybody I know is terrible. Maybe Hoogie's girlfriend. If we can get Hoogie, hey, that's a good way to get Hoogie in the shop, is if we invite his girlfriend too. Maybe she can do it. Anyway, we'll see. I wonder if this will catch fire, because those wastegates apparently do get really hot. I know they get hot, I also know that they don't get near as hot as the rest of these guys. You would never know that this has 400,000 kilometers. This is terrible. What is that? Anyway, this is our differential on the Audi. Some pretty neat things that it has about it. First off, as you can see, this tube right here that runs right to the front, this is actually lubrication. So it's got splash lubrication that flies up from the ring and pinion and lubricates the front bearing. It's got a drain for the front for any oil that gets stuck in between the two. And also one at the back. Now at the back we've tapped it. This one was a lot rougher shaped than this one. I could barely get it open. I didn't have a Allen key big enough. It's a metric something or other. So what I did was I took a M12 bolt and just welded a nut to the back side of it, and then used the head of the bolt to take the plug out. Then I drilled it with a 9/16 drill bit, tapped it, and put a fitting in there which will run to our diff cooler. I've done the same thing with our side cover here. This plug was in not very good shape, so drilled it, tapped it, and it will sit like this. So the oil will be pumped from here through the cooler and then dumped back into the diff housing through the cover itself. Ideally, I would want this fitting on this side, because the diff cooler's at the back. Now I have to go around the axle, but I also need to make use of this drain at the bottom of it. So this has to sit at the bottom. The oil that leaks, that lubricates this bearing, has to be able to drain back into the diff, otherwise it'll just run out the seal. We've replaced this seal. This is just a rubber seal, so it doesn't take any Loctite or anything on the outside, no sealant of any kind. Just make sure that it's in square. If it's got blue or red or green around the outside of a tin seal, that is actually Loctite, so that when you punch it in, the friction actually melts the Loctite or glue, whatever it is, and then that's what seals the outside of it. We've replaced this seal. We're going to replace the seal on the other side as well. Very generic, straightforward. Both seals were still very pliable, so I'm not going to change the front one, mainly because we got the wrong one. Came in and it's not leaking, so we're not going to touch it. We do want to see though that the vent is open and free. As everything expands inside the differential, there's less room for the air on the top half of the assembly, so it has to be able to escape, and then it has to be able to pull air back in again as it cools when it's shut down. We've done lots of transport truck differentials where wheel seal's leaking, and you find out it's just the vent, and you don't even have to replace the seal because there's physically nothing wrong with the seal. It's just the vent that's leaking. Generally we replace the seal because it brought more money in for the boss. But we got our torsion diff all cleaned up. Looks brand new, even though it's got 400,000 on it. And throw some oil in it just for now to lubricate the bearings so they're not dry. And then we're just going to assemble this cover, throw some paint on it, and probably call it a night because it's already 11 or 12 o'clock. I don't even know. I bought new bearings for it. I'm not going to replace them because they look like they're in great shape. Right here, the race looks really good. A race is always a good indication too. If there's any Brunelling on it, like any lines on it from the actual bearing itself, it's time to replace them. I'm not going to replace them because then I don't have to set up my ring and pinion at all. I'm basically just putting it back together the way it was, except with new seals. We'll splash some paint on it, we'll throw it back into the car, and that's basically all we're going to do for the diff, other than cross our fingers and pray that it doesn't explode. Pretty neat design though. They got lots of webbing and stuff in here. It should be fine. I'm sure Audi engineers back in 1988, when they were designing this car for 1990, had in mind that someday some guy is going to put 4 turbos in front of it and race Rob Ferretti's Corvette and kick his ass. And this is 100% proper technique. You just hold her steady and give her. Now, the stupid thing was, when we were walking around Tuesdays way back when, I poked my head in his scrap bin, and the diff that came out of the red car was laying in there, and I remember seeing it because I thought, oh, that's a goofy looking diff because it's so long and stupid. And we got the car, we decided what we were doing with it, and I asked Andy, where's that diff? I gotta grab that diff real quick for a spare. He goes, oh, the bin just left and is in we got our scrap price for it, and that was it. We would have had a spare, but whatever, it is what it is. Maybe we'll be surprised. Alright, so last week I asked a question on different size tires, and I understand that they have to be the same diameter. Now these tires, if you look at them, this is an 8-inch, which was on the front, this was a 10-inch, which was on the back. We have two 35-40 R18s, and you can look that up. They are the same size as, I think they're like 1% off from a, I should line that up better, 265-35 R18, because it's the height in millimeters from here to here, and then a percentage of that is the width. I think that's how it goes. But anyway, I understand that on an all-wheel drive system you need the same diameter tire. My question was if there's any advantage at all in running wider tires at the back. Now, if you can chime in with experience, or if you're a tire shop, or whatever. And the only reason I thought of this in the first place was I saw Audi race cars back in the 90s when they were running this exact car in that European Beamer versus Mercedes circuit, and the back tires were wider than the front. I'm like, okay, well then they did it, then I'm gonna do it. And also the offset, so what the track should be between the front and the back, whether the outsides of the tires have to be the same, if the front tire has to be in the middle of the back tires. All of this stuff I don't know, and I guess it's more trial and error. Right now we ordered 2 rims, and I was hoping to have them by now. They should have been here by now. Hopefully it's just because of the weather. To see if the 10-inch wide tires will fit on the front. If they do, then I'll order 2 more 10-inch tires for the back, and we'll have 4 10-inch wide tires, which were the two 65/35 R18s. If they don't, I'll order 2 8-inch tires for the front, and again, it looks really cool for photo ops. And then that brings us to the brakes. This is an all-wheel drive mechanical system, so everything is transferred mechanically between the front and the back, and the diff side to side on the back, not on the front. But what I need to know is, if anybody knows what the actual split was from this car back in 1990 through the ABS module, what the actual split was. I know that tractors, when tractors like the newer tractors, they only have brakes on the back tires, but when you hit the brakes, it'll activate the four-wheel drive, and it'll use the four-wheel drive to actually slow down the front tires as well. This being all-wheel drive with a mechanical system with no way to disconnect the front to the back. Do we run the brakes 50-50, or, and basically that's where I'm going to start right now, is 50-50, and then see if giving more brakes to the back or less brakes to the back will actually affect the understeer on it or not. If you've got experience on that, chime in. I don't want just your opinion saying, oh, well, I understand that most vehicles are a 70-30 split or a 60-40 split, because as you slow down, the weight transfers to the front. That's why your front brakes are bigger in a two-wheel drive system. How does it work with a four-wheel drive system that's all-wheel drive? Like we've got our pickups and our Tahoes and stuff like that that are four-wheel drive, but you only use them in the snow because it allows for a certain amount of slippage in wet weathers, in wet roads, slippery roads. But an all-wheel drive system that you run on dry pavement, you can't have one set of tires slowing more than the other, because all of that is transferred through the drive line. It's going to want to skip the front tires or the back tires or vice versa. So chime in and let me know what you guys think. For now, these tires, if you look up the tire sizes online, I think they're a 1% or a 0.8% difference in height. The height itself is identical, and I can show that. Well, I can show that with this 2x4 that's perfectly level in my shop. That's perfectly level, that I poured with a bunch of free labor, buddies that owed me favors. So the floor is perfect. So you get the point anyway. I understand the 60-30, 60-40 split, 70-30 split, but chime in anyway. That's where we're at with the tires, and yes, I will be cooling the discs from the inside out. You can stop commenting now that, yes, I got it backwards. We don't need to cool the brakes from the outside in. We're going to cool the brakes from the inside out. Thank you for that, YouTube. I wouldn't be where I am without you guys. So, all right, got a couple touch-up spots yet. As that's drying, I'm going to be heading over to my niece's Christmas program for her school, and gotta get cleaned up for that. But we also got some other stuff done. We got a drive shaft laying in here that actually lines up with an arrow where I said the transmission was gonna stop. It does stop. We've got our differential in there. It's all painted up with some really old Mexican chrome paint there. We've got a cooler down the drain there, except it's the wrong fitting, so that one's the right one. See how there's a hose clamp on there? So in this video, I'll be like, oh yeah, I forgot to put that right fitting in there, and it blew off and sprayed gear oil all over the back of the car. Anyway, there's the cooler pump there. We gotta finish that up. We got axles just in temporarily because I messed up this one wheel bearing. Gonna do that tonight and paint this black. I never actually painted this one. So we'll paint it tonight, finish that up. And then brake lines to there, and putting all my speed nuts in for the skid plate, and off the rotisserie. I'm like a week behind. It was a busy week with the customers. Little tractor, dually, million mile dually got a lot of love, and some other stuff. So, but we're getting there. Okay. It's about 10 o'clock on Saturday night, and I'm really happy with how these skirts turned out. About ready to hit them with primer, and then, but yeah, I'm not going to, not tonight, because I've been so worked up about these skirts that I completely shoved aside the whole engine bay and like the wheel wells, and they would look really good with some black paint on them too. And it won't take much, it's just I'm not going to be able to do it tonight. I never welded the engine mount solid because I didn't know if I was going to move my engine back and forth yet, depending on where my drive shaft was or where we're going to end up with that. So rather than rush the paint just so that we can have a nice picture for it and a thumbnail for it, we are going to go inside for the night, call it a day. I worked till 1 in the morning last night, and it was a long day today. It's been a long week. It's been a long last 3 weeks. So instead, we will do a little bit more prep work tomorrow, finish up those welds on the engine bay, and then splash them at the same time. It's on the rotisserie, I can spin it. Now's the time to do it. I have the paint, I just need a little bit more time, and that time is going to be probably while you're watching this video right now. So a few other things to do tomorrow morning and in the early afternoon, and then after that we'll probably head right back out here again. So follow us on Instagram. You can see the updates that are being posted there, and if you still want your name on the car for these skirts, we'll be putting them on this week. Tuesday, Kristen is coming to take care of this so she can see why Hoogie needs to get out of the house and work on this beast once in a while. So we're looking forward to that. If you want your name on it, head over and buy some Quattro swag off of our merch store. You can see the link down below. Yeah, it'd be cool to see the names on there, and I'm actually really stoked about that diff and the drive shaft being in there. So is the kitty. Just listen to him purr. And we'll be seeing you again real soon. Thanks for watching, guys. Here we go. Patreon is more or less just a sponsorship for the channel. Say $1 a month, $10 a month, whatever it is. It allows us to have some extra income that we can plan on and be able to say, okay, we can use that money towards this or that or whatever. Right now it's going towards the Audi.